Everyone. So we are into the 20th of April, and it's a fantastic day in Les Sables. There's a big expo on here today, and GGR is there with a stand. So if you're in Les Sables watching this and you want to come down and meet Marco and relive some of the GGR, we've got a big 10 metre by 10 metre display there. We've got a beautiful balcony. You can come out, look over the boats, things like that. So hope to see you down there. And yes, lots of interesting things going on here. And as you'll see, Abelish is not in the lead anymore. Kirsten is back on the leaderboard, and it's quite interesting. So let's just give you a brief here on what's going on. Yeah, Abelish has got a pressure system above him, and it'll be interesting to see what the winds actually do. Right now, he's only getting 24 knots, gusting 30 or something. And yesterday I had a look at it and thought I didn't need a weather report, but I was traveling. Seb had a look, and Seb thought he needs a weather report, so he gave a weather report to Abelish. And Abelish is following a routing suggestion that was given to him, and that's why he's heading out to the east. But anyway, let's go back there and see what's happening. It's up to Abelish, of course, exactly what he wants to do when he's given weather advice. And we'll first of all get back down here, and we'll explain that in a minute. We'll come to Jeremy and look at what he's doing. He's still in the trades, 5.2 knots. He's done 115 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. Pick it up, and the trades, the doldrums are just looking so perfect for him. He's better hurry up and grab it while he can, because there's not much there. And it looks like going forward, if we come forward a day, a little bit more. Yeah, okay, so that's 24 hours from now. It's starting to open up a bit. Typical stormy passages there, thunderstorms, squalls, all that sort of stuff, but it's still pretty narrow. It's only 240 miles across the doldrums, and the trades that he was in today is going to disappear. It's going to pull away from him. So the doldrums are going to more or less move over the top of him, which happens, and that's going to change his world completely. Although I'd say it's already started to happen. It's quite possible. And then if we just toggle that forward another 24 hours into the 21st, you can see generally there's still a breeze gradient there. It's not all just open white, no open blue rather, like this. He's still got a breeze there. So I think, today he'll still make ground. It'll start to turn into the doldrums, but at least he's got a gradient there, and that's what you want to see. So he's looking pretty lucky there at the moment. That'll help him on the second day. And if we go through to the third day, bit average. So generally he's absolutely going to experience the doldrums again, but I think it's going to be quite gentle on him, and he should make reasonable progress. Okay, coming up to Goog. We were all so happy to see Goog serve his time in the penalty box. It was an amazing story. I feel for Goog. He's under a lot of, all the entrants are under psychological pressure, the loneliness, the decisions to make, and the smallest thing can become a big issue. And that's exactly what happened with Goog on this penalty box. And hopefully he'll reflect on that later on, when the race is all over, and he'll look back and see what happened. And it wasn't just him, as I say, a couple of other entrants nearly dipped into the zone. It wasn't a big infringement, but it turns into a 4.5 hours. And in the scheme of things, it's not a lot. So thanks, Goog, for doing that. That's all very exciting for us. Anyway, he's about to. I meant to mention about the equator for Jeremy. He's not quite there. Okay, so he will probably cross the equator today, which is another whoop moment for him. So that's cool. And Goog's still in the trades. You can see there he's still very much got that headwind. It's trades, but it's not where you want it from. It's forward of the beam, doing 4.7 knots, did 69 nautical miles yesterday. All things considered, that's good in these sort of conditions. 2-meter seas bouncing around, water everywhere, blah blah, and he had to do the time penalty, which would have really miffed him a bit, but he did it, so that's great. And as he moves forward, let's go a day, and he might come into this soft patch ahead of him. There's the next day. Yeah, so he's still going to be, sailing reasonably well. But then what's going to happen to this thing on the second day? So the second day come through. Okay, the bit of breeze is still following it through. So it's not the end of the world. He's not going to be becalmed by the look of it, because 2 days out, he would have been at least 160, 170 miles. That's it. He might even be across by then. over 2 days, it's an average of about 80 miles a day, 85, something like that, which he should be able to manage. So he's still looking pretty good there. And let's go to day 3 to see what's happening. This is sort of day 3. Yep, he's into it. He's got a nice breeze then, so he's going to hook onto this and get going. And if we look at the big picture, that's pretty good all round, because he's in the bottom of this similar system. And from Kirsten, 1200 was the magic figure. Oh, he's 1300, so he's still holding his position relatively, but he's certainly on his way to Les Sables d'Olonne, which is really good stuff. So that's good. And now what's going on here? So let's look at the leaderboard first. Shock horror, Kirsten's back in the lead. So Abelish lost his pole position, and he's now 157 nautical miles from Les Sables d'Olonne. Sorry, 1,057. And Kirsten is 1,046. So Kirsten's back in the lead by 11 miles. That's the statistics for you. And Captain Goog has got 2,439 nautical miles to go. Interesting here, the ETAs. This is panning out to be quite possible. Unusual, but quite possible. It's saying 29th of April. I did the numbers. I'm advising various people, and I said this morning the first boat, which I'm assuming may be Simon, right, could actually arrive on the 29th. And the first next boat, Simon or Kirsten, Abelish or Kirsten, could actually arrive on the 30th, which I'll explain a bit more as we look at the forward weather. So this is looking possible. These numbers are looking possible. So anyway, coming into Chichester class, Simon has got 930 nautical miles to go, showing an ETA of the 28th. Possible, if absolute earliest, and I doubt it. I think it'll probably be, it could be late on the 28th, but let's wait and see. And Jeremy, 3,200 nautical miles to go, doing 4.2, and we've already gone through all that. So still a bit up in the air there, but there's one thing's for sure. It is absolutely neck and neck. Oop, get rid of that. Pick it up here a bit, and we can see what's going on. So Abelish was tootling along there, and then as soon as he got the weather report, he decided to follow the advice, and he came out to the east, which is actually sailing away from Les Sables d'Olonne, to try and miss the potential stronger winds that were coming. And at the same time, Kirsten's just rocketing along. She got the breeze filled in at the bottom here, and she's been doing 7.2. So at the moment, she's come back to 6.5, did 150 nautical mile a day. Simon's doing 5.3 and did 139 miles a day. Abelish doing 5.6, doing 115. So Kirsten is by far the fastest of the three going on here. And it was interesting because in the previous 4 hours, even with Simon and Kirsten, they were in pretty much similar weather gradients, wind and strength based on the graphic here. And if it was correct, Kirsten was flying. She was doing substantially faster. She was going 7.2 knots, and Simon was only doing 5.5. So obviously a bit of weather involved there, but there's no question Kirsten's, she's going for it. I don't know what she's got up and what she's doing, but she can sniff the finish line, I think. I'm not sure. So that's the reality now, and obviously the leaderboard affected when Abelish came across here to the east. He's not going forward towards Les Sables d'Olonne, so whereas Kirsten is heading directly to Les Sables d'Olonne. So that's the reality there. Now coming back to the weather, what's actually going to happen here? Oh, yeah, you're not looking at the weather yet. That was the old weather. This is what we got at the moment. So on windy, Abelish is showing he's got in the first this sort of north or west, this strong westerly flow that's going to increase, continue to increase. He's got by windy, he's got 24 knots, gusting just over 30, 33 knots, and so on. And then it's going to move. He's going to move either this way or the other way. Let's wait and see. But let's watch what happens here to this system. If I go up one, it should just give us enough ability to actually pedal it through. Okay, so each one is an hour, and I'll go through till about midnight, 12 hours. So that's a bit more than 12 hours. You can see Abelish is just missing the bottom of this wind. If he had gone previously, he would have been, if you swung that across, he'd be just here. and this is breezes about 33, max 33, something like that, gusting 45, 47, seas around about 5-6 meters. So back into the heavy stuff, but he could manage all that. So, but he's not there; he's below it, so he's missed that. He's taken the advice, and then once you got there, once this is going through to the next day, by the next day, Abolish would have been up here, and it's fading out all around him. And maximum forecast I was seeing was the forecast wind was not quite touching 35. In some of these areas up here, it was 35, but it's going to be a little bit less than that. So, anyway, Abolish made the decision to follow the advice and continue, in a direction which keeps him below it all. His boat's pretty fragile. He'll probably enjoy that opportunity to do that, and then it keeps going. So this is just a bit over day one. And in all of that, Simon and Kirsten will just be enjoying this breeze in the right direction. They could take a run line now direct to Les Sables d'Olonne. So their course is going straight ahead. So it'll be interesting to see what Abolish does. If he maintains that speed and course over the 24 hours, I'll show you what happens here. He'll be about 150 miles. He'll be about there. Okay, so let's say just roughly, he could find himself about here. Where's Kirsten going to be? Kirsten's going to be about the same. She'll probably do 150 miles. So she's going to be about there. So you then have a situation where Kirsten's going to be here. Abolish is going to be about here, side by side. That would put them about, after day one, could be up to 80 miles apart, both going for the finish line. And so you can see this decision here to stay under the weather is dramatic for Abolish. He knows what he's doing, but it's costing him a huge advantage. So that's kind of interesting. So get rid of that. Come back to what's happening on the as we go forward. We'll go through to day two. And again, you can see that the whole system just disappears. It's non-existent anymore. So on day two, he will probably be heading back on track, and they'll be side by side going for Les Sables d'Olonne. So that's kind of interesting. And you can see still the breeze is very favourable. It's all from behind them. They're heading now straight into the Bay of Biscay, and they'll be making good speed. So we can just pull this, and all the time Kirsten and Simon wouldn't have altered course. They would have kept going. So we're into the 22nd. The breeze is still there. We come into the 23rd. And so the breeze, this is exactly on timeline for now. So that's the 23rd. That's 4 days ahead. 4 days ahead, Kirsten at say 150 miles days. And I think Abolish will be pegging that too towards the Sables d'Olonne after the first after his diversion to the east, and they're going to be up around here somewhere. They're both going to be up around here somewhere. So that's 4 days from now, from the 24th. Now, if we come back from that and look at what the distance is to the finish from that point, we've got about 500 miles. Now, 500 miles is 4 days at 100, a good average of 125 miles a day. Okay, so that's the 24th, and another 4 days, that's the 28th. That's why I'm predicting the absolute earliest that any boat will get to Les Sables d'Olonne will be, early morning on the 28th. Even Simon, I'd think he's probably that's probably a realistic option for Simon, because you'll see what happens as the weather continues. But anyway, as far as the race prediction goes, I would like to suggest that Simon and Kirsten and Abolish, who are the only 2 of 3 that are still racing, because Simon's Chichester class, not even going for line honours. There's no such thing for Simon. Simon's performing extremely well, but he is Chichester and just sailing home. He's under different rules. If he wants to use the engine, he can, but he's not using the engine, blah, blah, blah. So for Kirsten and Abolish, they could be really close here. It's going to be an interesting few days now. How long will Abolish hold out to the east here? I think maybe no more than late today. Before he comes back and does a little bit of a turn. And so, between the weekend of 28, 29, 30th, end of the month, it's going to be hectic stuff here. So let's look at the weather first, just leading them in a general sense to see if they can maintain their sailing. So it's certainly a nice breeze going into the Bay of Biscay there. It's still holding enough there. They may, on day 5, when you get through, they may get hooked up with a little bit of that light stuff, but generally this wind gradient from the southwest is moving ahead of them, and it should or could keep them in the breeze. So they're making great time straight into the Bay of Biscay. Look at that. Oh, it's even changed since this morning. Crikeys. So that's still leading them through, but it's only the 24th. So they're at 24th, they're back here somewhere. They're not up there, right? They're going to be getting closer on the 25th. You'll see they can't keep up with the weather, but it's going a little bit soft there, and that will come over the top of them. That's about where they'll be late on the 24th. So you can see some will be slowing down, but they could be close to side by side within reason, 80 miles apart. So they'll be getting very similar weather. And then on the 25th, they've moved into the bay, but you've got this big hole. Okay, this is where they're going to lose time to the Finnish ETAs. There's a big hole there. They won't be progressing very fast, but it shouldn't last very long. As you can see, pretty quickly it comes in again. There's nothing ahead of them. There's the 26th. Now, the 26th, if they were going to arrive on the 28th, a boat has to be within 300 miles, under 300 miles. Well, there's 200. So anyone that's getting close is going to be parked. So they're going to lose a little bit of that energy that they had towards the finish line. I'll just pick this up so you can see it a bit better. And now keep toggling that through. And got to hit that. So this is the 26th, and then they've got a headwind. There's a headwind coming out of there. So anyone that's getting close, someone that's in here, it's a headwind, but it's going around to the south. That's okay. They could ride along that. Certainly, what I'm seeing generally, first of all, is sometimes the course to come in is like this. That's not the case here. They'll all be following the breeze, and they're going straight for Les Sables d'Olonne. This is the 27th. Again, as they get close, whoever it is going to run into this sort of stuff. Confusing, bit of wind this way, bit of wind that way, wind here. Now you've got this headwind coming, and that's assuming this weather is going to stay the same. It's a long way ahead. That's a week ahead, and the forecast can all change. But there you've got another reasonable breeze, light breeze, spinnaker stuff going into Les Sables d'Olonne, and all of it's being driven by this big system at the back, going light. So not much wind on the weekend if this is true, especially in close. So I think all of that confusion going into the 29th is going to slow them up a bit. So I'd say even though the earliest possible is the 28th, it's still going to be the 29th, 30, and it could even extend over to the 1st. Anyway, the exciting stuff is that, look at this. Kerson's going that way. Abelish is going this way. They're going to come close together, and then Abelish will turn for the finish, and whoop, wow. I don't know what to say. So that's about all I can tell you for now. We'll be back again tomorrow. So thanks for that, and we'll see you.